right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Just let quite a few folks in. All right. We're going to do a quiz today on ecological interactions. So look at your review page so that you look over the vocabulary. All right. I've been looking at quite a few of your your symbiosis reports. And a couple of you chose the bee and the flower, which I told you not to do because we gave that example, but that's okay. All right, just as long as you explained yourself well, it's all right. All right, so as soon as we get everybody in, I'm going to show kind of like a summary video, and then I will give you the link for the quizzes, and we will do that. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for folks to come in, again, look at your vocabulary page so that you, and again, we're in the section of ecological interactions. And go make sure you understand all of the relationship questions. We just finished talking about succession. There are no questions about succession on this particular quiz. All the questions really are more designed around symbiosis and um, ecological relationships. But we will get back to talking about succession. And if we have time at the end, if everybody's finished the quiz early enough, we'll talk about your Maui discussions. Okay, still letting folks in. Okay, go. Bathroom use is good. Go ahead. Imani, I'm not sure which model that you're talking about.
The module, the one that you were talking about, could you put the URL link to it in the chat, please, so I can get to it faster? I'm kind of having trouble finding it.
Sure. Okay. Copy. And I do want to say that, folks, sometimes it's a whole lot faster for you to just unmute and talk to me so that we can, let me see if this is going to, all right, there you go. Let me know if that's what you need.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All righty. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, letting a few more folks in, but I think everybody should be in now. Okay. All right, so again, we're looking at the vocabulary on the overview page. So we need to know what our ecological relationships are. All right, so I'm going to show a quick review video. So let me share first. I think we got everybody in. But just in case, we'll watch the video and then hopefully everybody will be in by the end of the video and we can do the quiz. All right, so what's up now on the page is all the vocabulary that you should be looking at. Trying to get all my stuff out of the way. All right. There we go. All right, so this is just a short review video dealing with the vocabulary that you are looking at.
kid, I'd play with something, then I'd kind of forget about it, and then rediscover it, and don't do exactly what happened in my sandbox. Except when I rediscovered it, the sands have all these tiny holes in it. My dad was with me and exclaimed, "Oh, look at that! There's sandbox." None of us that I knew what antlands were. I eventually figured out what they were. It makes sense now because my father really loves insects. Antlions are insects. In their adult form, they sort of look, in my personal opinion, like a less cool version of a dragonfly. They are not a dragonfly. But in their larva stage, they look, well, not like many things I can compare it to. They have these mandibles and they make these sand pit traps. And then they wait with their mandibles just showing above the surface. When an ant or other small insect walks over their sand pit, they drag it in. They pull the ant underground, biting it and injecting it with enzymes to digest it in order to consume the ant's juices. I also have learned by watching them that they toss sand at their ant victim too if they need help subduing it before they drag them onto it. Thankfully, antlions are small. In fact, doodlebug is evidently another name for these things. I'm not exactly sure how you go from antlion to doodlebug, but okay. It's all relative. They're bad news for an ant because the antlion is a predator of the ant. The ant is their prey. That's an ecological relationship right there. And that's what we're going to talk about, ecological relationships. Typically, if we were to graph the predator and prey populations in our example, when the population of ants in the confined area increase, it is likely that the antlions, which are the predators, also will increase over time because they have more food to eat. However, if the antlions increase too much, there won't be enough ants, which are the prey, to feed on. So the antlions will decrease. You can see that relationship in this predator and prey graph. In most ecosystems, predator and prey graphs go up and down frequently. It cycles. Also, just because this antlion is a predator doesn't mean that this is the only role it plays. An antlion can get eaten by a bird. Now the antlion has just become the bird's prey. Competition is also another relationship. Antlions are they have to eat other things. They eat their own food. They have to for the same food. They're prey. This example shows the biotic factor. And they're not just competing with other antlions for this biotic factor. They may have to compete with completely different species in the area that are also predators of ants too. For example, jumping spiders like ants. You know, it's not just consumers that compete. Producers, like this plant, make their own food, but that does not mean they don't have to deal with competition. For example, this plant here is competing for this limiting abiotic factor, light. Symbiotic relationships are specific types of relationships where different species live together. Parasitism is an example of a symbiotic relationship where one organism benefits and the other is harmed. An example? Well, you know, I love dogs. Petunia is the cat person. When my family took in our rescue dog, she was 4 months old at the time. We learned from the vet that she would need to be treated for fleas and hookworms. We were able to give her medicine to treat these parasites. A good thing because these parasites can hurt the dog by feeding on their blood. A parasite is an organism that gets its nutrients from another organism and causes harm to its host. They can live inside or on their host. Mutualism is an example of a symbiotic relationship where both organisms involved benefit. You really need to look up a video about acacia ants and acacia trees because this is a fascinating example. See, some species of acacia trees form these hollow thorns which provide housing to acacia ants. Some species even provide nectar for food for these ants. So, what does this tree get in return? Protection. I hate to be a type of consumer that eats acacia trees because if it has acacia ants, the ants will come out of the thorns and attack the consumer. They'll even destroy plants and try to grow close to the acacia tree so the ants can eliminate the tree's competition. Nice mutual relationship between the acacia tree and the acacia ant. The last symbiotic relationship we'll mention is commensalism. This one's interesting because in this relationship, one organism benefits and the other is neither helped nor harmed. It has a neutral effect. Some species of barnacles and whales are a great example. Many barnacle species can attach themselves to moving things, like a boat or a whale. On a free whale ride, the barnacles get a lot of access to food. They're helpers that travel to nutrient-rich waters. In this particular example, the barnacles benefit, but neither help nor harm the whale, so this would be commensurate. But I do like to remind my students that sometimes there's more to the story with a relationship labeled as commensurate. And sometimes what we thought was a completely neutral effect may not always be in every case. So, why do all these relationships matter anyway? Well, one reason is that these interactions can make significant impacts on populations of different species living together. That means if the population of a certain species is threatened by human activity, for example, it can affect more than just that one species. Scientists continue to learn about new ecological relationships all the time. Well, that's it for the Newt sisters. I'm going to remind you to stay curious.
Okay. All right. So I've stopped sharing that. And now I'm going to share the link for the quiz. So have any notes that you need to have in front of you, have the vocabulary in front of you, the so that you understand the difference between the relationships. Because what the quiz does is it's going to give you a lot of pictures of organisms in relationship and ask you to decide which relationship do you think this best displays. Okay. Yes, it's for a grade. Yes, it's for a grade. And we're only taking it one time. So again, make sure that you understand. So if you have any questions about the difference between the relationships, you need to ask now. The vocabulary. Hello?
I have a question.
Sure.
Is the video on Canvas? Because I could barely hear it.
I can probably put a link to it in
Thank you.
Canvas. Give me oh, I just closed it out. All right, give me 1 second to answer the other person's question. The vocabulary, well, you should have been on the unit in Canvas is ecological relationships. The first module says overview, module overview. And that's where all of the vocabulary is. So in that module, it explains all of the definitions for all of the relationships, the ones she just mentioned, as well as some other things that we had talked about as far as there's a lot of vocabulary about succession. And again, the quiz doesn't really have a lot of stuff about succession. It is most specifically about symbiosis, the relationship between organisms. All right, give me 1 second actually to see if I can't embed that video for you. Come back, come back. Mm. Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. Let's see. Now that I want to find it, it won't pop back up. Let me see something. No, not yet. I had copied it in Uh, there we go. Got it. All right, give me 1 sec. I will get you the link for that.
At PetSmart Kitchen, we're sharing helpful hacks to make your dog's mealtime extra special. We'll be using all Merrick Backcountry products from PetSmart to make healthy, nutritious meals. Moose loves them, and their ingredients are crafted to be closest to how nature intended them to be, which makes me feel good too. First hack.
All right, so the link for the video, is in the chat. And now the okay, let me pull this up. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, if you're looking at the vocabulary list, I have it. I'm sharing it now. This is the section that right here. It's competition, predator prey, niche, parasite, parasitism, predation. You need to specifically know those. Your project was on symbiosis, and we looked at the roles that we play. So we looked at everybody should have done that project already. All right, species interaction. So this is more specifically what you want to make sure that you look at, and here we go. Those are your interactions there. So the quiz is mostly about this page right here. Okay. And they talked about positives and negatives that she had in the video. They had a chart similar to this. I don't know why my printer's rebooting, but it is. All right, so make sure that was the assignment that you had to do. All right, so the quiz is not so much about this as it was the previous page. Okay. All right. So again, if you are, and we'll come back to those another time. So if you're really looking to have a page open, this would be the page that you would want to have open. Okay. All right. So I'm going to, any other questions before I put this link in the chat? We good? All right, Lucas and Caleb, are you there? Cameras are off.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Y'all are reminded that your cameras should be on. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing because while you're doing the quizzes, and again, it is a lot of examples. So again, you might want to have your definition handy so that you're clear as to what that relationship should be, and then compare it to the example that they're giving you. All right, so all right, so the link for the Quizzes is in the chat. It's 33599. Sorry, 988. 335-988. It's in the chat. I got 3 people in, and I'm waiting on 19. All right, they have given me access to GoGuardian, so y'all need to make sure that that's where you are. And I need everybody logged in so that we can get it started, that we're not holding everybody up. Got 10 people, I'm missing 9. All right, again, this is for a grade, so I do print the results. Please only log in once. I see your name twice, I take out the second name. All right, we're still waiting on about 8 people, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. And when most people are done, I will also end it. So if you're going to wait to log in late, you're going to be timed out. So please log in now. I'm going to go ahead and get started for those who actually logged in on time. Okay. Having this issue with people being logged in and not present. Be logged in and present. The quiz has started.
I'm just going back over the video because I couldn't hear it before.
Okay. Okay. And actually, have your vocabulary page might be more helpful than watching the video again. The video was good, but having your definitions in front of you will be more helpful. Remember, take your time. You can only do it once, so don't rush through it. Mhm. Okay. Okay. Everybody should be in the quiz by now. We do have some folks who are finished, and we don't want to hold the quiz open for too much longer. So it's got a handful of you who haven't started yet. Okay. Mm-hmm. It is permanent. All right, if you're done, you need to look at the next section that says ecological succession lesson. Scroll down to recap. Okay. All right, so there's two sections here. I'll do the recap. The recap has some pages for you to go through. So stroll through those and then come down here and do the challenge. You need to click on the image in order to make a selection that goes with the image. Okay. All right, so I'm checking the quiz. So a couple of folks gonna get a 0 because they're not engaged in the quiz. And folks, know that GoGuardian lets me know that you're logged in, but you're just logged in. Sorry about that. All right, so if you finish taking the quiz, you should be on the page that for ecological succession. Everybody who has finished the quiz should be on ecological succession. Back in Canvas. Okay, so if you finish the quiz, go ahead, take that bathroom break, and then come back and look at ecological succession in Canvas. I got somebody in here who's got a bunch of letters, so I'm going to take you out because I need your name. Can't do that. So you didn't sign in with your name. That's not going to work. All right, everybody should be by now, except for one person who I was actively still taking the quiz. Everybody else should be um, working on the succession activity. Everybody. Aaron, are you still with us? Mm. All right, so the quiz is closed. Those are a couple of you who didn't take it, and you're present in class. That's 0. All right, good job. We got 200s and a 90. So good job. Quite a few 80s and 85s. So excellent. All right, so good job, Aaron, and Elena, and Janila. Janaya. Janila. All right, so, so I'm going to print this report, and then I will enter these scores. I will be here after school, after 1:30. I'll still be logged in. So if you feel like you need a retake, and there's a couple of you who might want to do that, I will be here. Okay. Um, like I said, I'll be here after 1:30. So if you, for whatever reason, you didn't take it, or you wish to do, about 5 of you probably might want to do a retake. So I'll be here to do that again after school. You can message me to let me know that you're definitely coming. So I hang around. All right, so give me a chance to print this out, and then we'll discuss succession. Okay, I didn't want to do that. Okay, so I saw that some of you were looking at, and we watched this video with this character the other day, and I showed you a PowerPoint that talked about succession. So let me go back and I'll share in just a second. All right, so succession wasn't on the quiz, but we'll talk about it at a later date. Quiz it at a later date. But your Maui activity had to do with succession, and you need to remember that there are two types of succession. So this one in primary succession, and then yesterday in the PowerPoint that I had up, I showed you that the comparison side by side. So you need to know the difference between primary succession and secondary succession. Right. In this case, they have the Roman numerals at the bottom, and you can click on the Roman numerals and it explains you what is happening at that stage of succession. All right, so it describes the fact that primary succession starts from nothing. There was no vegetation in the areas, just rock. And then what happens? So there's no soil. If there's no soil, plants can't grow. And again, succession is mostly about vegetation. It's not so much about the animals as it is the vegetation, because the animals will come along later and when climax communities form, because then they have some place to live. Right now, there's no habitat for animals to live in. So we're just looking at the vegetation. So there's no soil, nothing can grow there. So by the time we get to stage 2, then we have these low vascular plants that are growing. And what they do is they can take the little bit of moisture that's growing on the rock and they can grow from that, because they don't have to have deep roots. They just need to be able to absorb the water on the surface. All right. But when they do that, part of their biochemical processes break down the rock. And in the process of breaking down the rock, they create soil. So they're the ones that are creating the soil, or something that other plants can live off of. And we always call these organisms pioneer species. So if you did make a highlight that point, you need to make sure that you do that. Pioneer species are, and I believe I asked y'all to write that down yesterday, those are your lichens and mosses that break down the rock. All right. Next stage, now that we've got a little soil growing, other things can grow in the area. So they start sending down some roots. So you see now you have this beginning of this little brown area underneath here. So that means these plants can actually send some roots down and get their nutrients from the soil. Okay, but as you see, they're still short plants. They're not very tall. They don't need very much water. They don't need very much nutrient. They're still quite small. So shrubs and grasses, they have ferns. They will start to grow in this area. And then in the next area, stage 4, they are, again, plants that can send out deeper roots are growing. A few more things in addition to the ones in the first picture, but now they're getting bigger. Okay, by the time you get to stage 5, you've got enough soil that trees can actually start to send their roots down. And then we get to, oops, I'm clicking and they're not clicking. So they're not going to click out of all these. All right, so from 5 on out, we have enough area for the roots to grow, for taller trees to send down good roots so that they can survive off of the nutrients in the soil and the water that's available. And then it doesn't click on the rest of them, but the last group here, group 7, is your climax community. The climax community is always a forest. Okay, it's always a forest. All right. That's primary. Secondary is a similar situation. I guess with here, they want you to this kind of goes in reverse. So you really want to start here. All right, secondary situation. Okay, actually, if you start here, this is what you had a climax community. So this is what happened with Maui. They had a beautiful, lush vegetation in the Hawaiian Islands, and then they had the big fire. Okay, it can be a fire, it can be an earthquake, it can be the volcano erupted and covered everything with lava. Some type of natural disaster occurred and wiped out everything so that you're starting from scratch. However, notice it's still brown. So we're not going back to the rock layer, but we are going to a dirt layer that doesn't have any vegetation on it. Okay? So this is the difference between primary succession and secondary succession. Secondary succession starts where there was a climax community. You had a disaster that wiped out all of the or most of the vegetation. And so you end up having to regrow things. So because there's soil there, and a lot of times whatever the disaster was also adds some nutrients to the soil. So you can quickly grow some grass back. And over time, you can grow shrubs and trees will come back a little bit faster than they did with the primary succession. Now, it will still take years to get to the climax community for it to come back, but it may not take hundreds of years like it did, hundreds and thousands of years like the first set needed. Okay, so that's the important part that you need to understand about these two. Okay, all right. So that being said, you need to understand the definition of climax community. And by climax community, it means that the community has reached a balance. No more superior vegetation is going to grow there. The dominant species, remember we had a pioneer species at the beginning, and now we have a dominant species in the area that is going to be the dominant species for the rest of the time in that particular ecosystem. So now you have other organisms that will come and use this as the habitat. But again, when we talk about succession, we're mostly talking about the plant life. All right, hopefully you went through this. Okay, all right. So you want to go through and to be able to say which one is first, which one is second, which one is third, and then read this summary at the bottom. So has everybody had a chance to do that? Because this is going to end up being a quiz. So make sure you've taken the time to go through each of these. Again, lichen and grass are the short. Lichen is the name for the really, really small organisms, our pioneer species. All right, so we're looking at, if this is the diagram you're trying to establish. So number one should have been the bare rock. And then they want you to pick, what should you see next? All right, so I'm not going to go through this one with you. I'm going to let you make sure that you go through till you get a satisfactory answer on that one. Once you have done that, make sure your Maui, and it looks like everybody has not submitted their Maui questions. Uh, But again, the Maui situation, I also had that in the PowerPoint yesterday, where it is in Hawaii. And what we wanted to look at with that Maui question was the fact that it had lush vegetation before. And you were supposed to, first of all, talk about the ecosystem there. So you were supposed to explain what kind of ecosystem it did and how much it destroyed, what kind of flora and flora again is the plant life, what kind of animal life was there before the disaster, and where are they now? So you needed to end your summary with where are they now? So like this first one, I'm not seeing um, a whole lot. So the grade really wants to make sure that you've answered those 4 questions. So again, you have a minute or so to go spruce up your answers. I might have graded some already. I think I have, but I'm going to stop sharing so that I can switch to the grade book. But make sure your Maui discussion, yes, I will. Make sure that your Maui discussions are in. Okay, so I've taken it down so that I'm not sharing anymore. Uh, and I need to go in to make sure that you can resubmit. Right now, I'm looking at it, it doesn't look like you can. So let me check on adjust the assignment so that you can resubmit or edit your response. Right. I believe you can go in and edit your response or add additional information to your response because it's a discussion question. So go in if I've already checked it and you feel like you need to add some more to it, you can do that and then submit it again. All right, Jay Marshall. All right, there is quite a few of you also that have not submitted your case study on symbiosis. So if you haven't done that, now's a good time to do that. We got about 7 minutes left to class, so check and make sure that you've done that. Because after after today, it'll be late. All right, and when you answer if you haven't answered the question already, um, let me know that you know what flora and fauna are by maybe naming a plant or naming a type of animal that might have lost its home. So don't just say flora and fauna. All right, we have a couple of people who need to submit, quite a few people need to submit also my habitat study. So there's three things that are kind of current right now. My habitat study, um, types of symbiosis case study. Okay, good. And the Maui succession. So in the few minutes that's left, please make sure that you have a submission for those three. Okay, and while you're doing that, I'm going to add the scores for today. And it was out of 20. All right, so there were quite a few 80s as well as the 90s and 300s. So good job, folks. All right, so again, I'll be after school today for those. So text me if you're going to be after school. I'm free after 1:30, and I'll stay up to 2 o'clock if you feel you need to come back. All right. Yes, it is 11:25. So yes, you may go if you have turned in everything that you need to turn in. And you have a great weekend and see you next week.
Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.